Hey everyone, welcome back to the next episode of the Culture Eats Everything, and we mean everything podcast. We're delighted to have Dr. Michael Lubelfeld on today. He's with the Northshore School District 112. Did I get that right, Doctor?
That is wonderful. Yes, we are in Highland Park in Highwood, Illinois, on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan, just north of Chicago and south of Wisconsin. It's great to
And
be here
you've
with you today.
and you've been there for quite some time. You were there for a while, you left, you came back, you've been a superintendent in many different districts in Illinois. I think just Illinois, is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
actually in my 15th of what will ideally be 16 years as a superintendent as I retire next year. And this is my third superintendency. But as you mentioned, Tom, I used to work here. So I worked here for 13 years earlier in my career, 8 years, did a few other things, then came back. So I'm in my 20th year of service to the board, which is kind of cool. And it's neat to leave and come back.
Yeah, that's great. It gives you some different perspective, right? That's always a good thing. Well, fantastic. I'm excited to talk about this subject of succession planning today specifically because you and your deputy, Monica Schroeder, um, have a great plan going, I think. And we'd just love to unpack that a little bit because I think it'll be helpful for our audience, for maybe superintendents or CEOs looking to retire, to be much more intentional, much more conscious about their plans. And so, our goal here is to talk to you a little bit today and then to have Monica on in a few months and get her perspective, and we can kind of blend those two together, and that'll be fun. So I'd love to start with, this idea that succession planning has the word success built right into it, right? And so how did you guys think about success when you first started to think about succession planning?
Oh my gosh. So first of all, Dr. Monica Schroeder is a superstar leader, and she has been the deputy superintendent here with me for all 7 years that I've been superintendent. Monica's been here for 19 years. Ironically enough, or coincidentally, or serendipitously, I was able to select her when I was the assistant superintendent for personnel in 2006, and she had come on as the associate principal at one of our middle schools. So we've both been part of the district. She's, I want to say, in her 19th year right now. So we've been superintendents through a rebuilding of Northshore School District 112. So everything is situational, right? Everything is contextual. So she was here during times that were up. She was here during times that were down. She was here during times that were stable and times that were quite tumultuous. And I came on board after the district was in an unusually low point, but it was really rebuilding. They had had 18 months of interim superintendents who were really award winning. A new school board recommitted to learning and teaching and facilities, because facilities were a tremendous need here. And they brought me in. I was an 8-year veteran superintendent. Monica and I were excited to work together again, and we still are. And we went through the COVID-19 pandemic, crisis after crisis, challenge after challenge. We went through probably 4 collective bargaining negotiation sessions with the 2 unions that we have, really very intense and very, very complex matters. We've had a host of legal issues and challenges that many superintendents face. We also are in Highland Park, Illinois, where the July 4th, 2022 mass shooting and murder took place in our community, which is traumatic and has had a lasting negative impact on the lives of so many, and we're helping rebuild community. So when COVID was leaving, my board offered me a 5-year contract extension, which is the maximum in Illinois. And I said, thank you. I'm humbled by that. I'm going to be asking you for a 4-year contract. They said, why 4-year contract? I said, because I'm retiring in 4 years, God willing. And they said, and then I said, once we work out our stuff, we got to talk about the future, because succession planning, to give you a background, kind of give your listeners a background, really does require us to set the district up for the greatest success. So anything that we've done together as a governance and leadership team, we want to sustain that. We'd like to have an impact, and we want to have a legacy. Monica is exceptional. And it wasn't just, oh, they'll just tap Monica on the shoulder, she'll get the job. It was, you've got options board. You can engage with Monica and talk with her and do formal or informal interviews and go forward together professionally. You can hire a search firm and do an intergalactic search. You can have us run our own search. We can hire a private consulting firm. But here's the point, board. What is it that we've done in the past few years together that you like and you want sustained? What is it that we're doing that you think the next person might not need to do and you want to set them up for success? And what can we do as a current superintendent and board to set whomever up for success? And I'll tell you this, the last strategic plan, mission, vision, value, goals, and objectives here in Northshore 112 came in 2010. That was 3 years after the iPhone was introduced, and it was when the iPad was introduced. Our students in our elementary district were born after 2010. So to say that it was out of date and out of context is the understatement of the century. So I said, board, before you select someone, whether it's a person right here that you know, or whether it's an intergalactic search, I'm begging you, please direct me and the administration to come up with some type of renewed mission, vision, value, goals that will set you up for the future and set anybody up that comes in after me for success. So I kind of wanted to give you all that background right there, and then kind of process that and see where you want to go. And then we can talk about how they made the awesome choice to select Monica.
Yeah, well, good. That's fantastic. And I had to laugh because you said when COVID was leaving, I didn't realize it had left. I was on a cruise last year, and on day one of the cruise, I got COVID, and it was knocked me out for the entire 7 day cruise, and I felt better as I was exiting the boat. And so
I'm so
complete
sorry.
complete squirrel, but I had to laugh about that. So yes, keep going. We'd love to hear what happened then.
So, the board said to me, well, do some homework. Are there other folks like you, veteran superintendents, choosing in advance, what the end date will be, who have a succession plan that involves a currently employed deputy or associate or assistant superintendent? I said, actually, yes. More frequently than not in the last 3 years from my study. Unscientific. So I called some friends and colleagues in Illinois, called the state association. I talked to some friends at the AASA. I looked around and I got the board about 6 or 7 examples of promotion from within. And we talked about different ways that those boards did it. Some of the boards hired a selection firm, search firm, and did a whole process and went with an inside person. Others interviewed themselves and hired the inside person. Others simply named the person. And there's a combination thereof. And I said to the board, what you owe yourselves and any future boards is a sound process that's moral, ethical, political, and operational that you can defend. I said, so my advice, if you want to hear my advice, I think all of you need to speak individually with Monica in the context of, do you want to be considered superintendent here? Let's not just assume. Do you want to tell us what you're thinking about? What's your vision? How would you do things differently? So long story short, they went to breakfast, they went to lunch, and they were not just informal meals. They were going on interviews, and they themselves engaged in their own dialogue independent of me as appropriate. And they engaged in a very thoughtful, I want to say 6 to 8 month process of really interviewing each other, Monica, the process, looking at homework that I had shared. I want to say a few board members called other board members in other districts to try to keep their ducks in a row, I believe. Ultimately, I want to say November or December, after a few months, I said, okay, well, here's the plan. I would like to announce to our community that I'm retiring. Do you want to do it the year before I go? Do you want to do it 2 years before? You want to do 18 months? Because there were some things. We all agreed on a 2-year transition or a 2-year runway. We've been through a lot here. We're still doing some heavy duty construction. It's about $250 million with 7 school complete and total gut rehabs over an 8 or 9 year period. It's pretty heavy lift here. We've revamped all curricular areas. We've been doing, Collins, first get the right person on the right seat of the bus, and then declare your hedgehog concept. So in May, we announced my retirement 2 years out. And in June, they announced, after what I think was about a 9 or 10 month process at that point, they had selected Monica. They issued Monica a 5-year contract. 2 as the deputy, 3 as superintendent. Very appropriate, very, very public, very, very big deal. And it was kind of good stuff. And we did good stuff. It was kind of fun, kind of neat, kind of exciting. And Monica and I, when it became clear that she was in contract talks with the board, she and I started pre-transition planning, transition planning, succession planning. And we've got a spreadsheet and we've got a document and we've got all these things. And as we speak today, right now, we're finishing the first 12 months of our transition, just about. And I couldn't be more proud of our board. I couldn't be more excited for Monica. And I couldn't be more heartened for the people in North Shore School District 112. Their future is indeed going to be bright.
Yes, that's fantastic. Fantastic. And I love that you actually even got down to the details of, do you want to do 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years of overlap with your board? And so everyone could align on that vision and get committed to it, because I think one of the lessons in this is that there is no one right answer. But there is lots of bad answers. Like, don't do it and just wait till last second. Don't get engagement from your board. Don't involve the next person. Just assume that the galactical search is going to find a superstar, right?
Sure.
There's lots of things that people do poorly, but just getting ourselves to slow down and to truly plan per succession planning is the real key here. Now, on the flip side, there are it's not always easy, right? So there are costs and benefits to any approach that you take. I would imagine that having a 2-year overlap is wonderful and has some challenges on the other side. That's a pretty long time to be overlapping, especially in year 2, where you're still superintendent, but she's really becoming the superintendent. So talk to us a little bit about that and sort of the challenges that might bring up.
Yeah, so the good news is Monica and I are blessed with our relationship and our professional friendship and our partnership and our honest conversation and our two-way dialogue. We rarely have conflict. When we do, we're honest and we talk it through and we work it out. And we're conscious of it and we're sensitive to each other's not only feelings, but also perspectives, roles, and experiences. And we've gone through some really awesome conversations. And I'll tell you what's helped us. A couple things. One, our board, because our board is supportive of both of us as humans and as professionals. Monica, with my support, but Monica led our strategic change process together with the Schlechte Center. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. And I was right there with her. She and I sat together in every extended discovery focus group, probably 12 hours worth of discovery. So we were right there. We did 3 full days of discovery with several hundred members of our community. We had student voice, we had parent voice, we had community voice. We really did a deliberate several month process to develop the mission, vision, values, goals, and objectives. And the board just approved it last month. So it's real. The design is, I'm Monica's thought partner. She's running the show in strategic change. I'm the superintendent. We are complementing each other. We're not crossing each other. We're not stepping on each other's toes. We're complementing each other. For our staff here, the first 6 months, we didn't really have any change in duties. This last 6 months has been sometimes amusing, sometimes challenging. Do they have 2 bosses? Who's there? What's going on? And we're open to it. We talk through it. Oh my gosh, we've got to have a united front because we're confusing our staff. Like, so we're talking through that. That can happen. We just had a board election. 2 new board members are coming on board, no pun intended. So we're going to be onboarding them, but the president's going to have 2 superintendents. One who's there for a year, one who's going to be there for a year, because our president has a 2-year term. So part of the way that we're handling what can be awkward, what can be a little bit challenging, is we're talking through ways that we might be stepping on each other's toes. Case in point. I run the cabinet, the executive leadership team, of which Monica obviously is my partner, a main part. I oversee or run the leadership team. You know, obviously I've got staff that do 99% of the work. Starting July 1st, by agreement, Monica's going to take my role over. I'm her thought partner. I'm her biggest supporter and fan. We are 2 people who are co-occupying the superintendent role. And we're just going to ease our way in very consciously. very deliberately and very intentionally, because there are natural trip ups of like, oh God, I hope we don't disagree, or like, what are we doing? And we're writing it down. We're writing it down. Is it awkward? Some days, yes. Is it hard? Yeah. Do we each feel badly that we might be encroaching on each other? Yes. Are we talking about it though? And the answer is yes. And we're respecting each other's points and positions. That's what's made last year so effective. And we know that's what's going to make next year even more effective.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because at the real root of that is one simple idea. It's in fact, we just released our book as we were talking about before the podcast, the Great Engagement, and
Yes.
Brad and I talked about the next book we're going to write is going to be based on, our decades of helping leaders and superintendents and CEOs, and it's going to be titled "Just Go Talk to Them," and then you open up the book and it's going to say "Just Go Talk to Them," the end. And so much of that is it's so simple, right? But it's so true. When there are awkward situations, we just have to slow down and have a conversation and work through it together. Now, you did say something that's interesting in there that some people feel like they've got two bosses, and so
Yes.
obviously you don't have a full picture of that because you're not in their shoes, but talk a little bit about that dynamic and how you think your cabinet is handling this and how your principals and the rest of the organization is handling that idea.
Some are handling it with ease and smoothness. Some are very confused and a little bit put off. And some are different degrees. So I'm conscious of it. We acknowledge it. Right now, I've really enjoyed coaching conversations with principals, associate principals, other members of the leadership team, and it's been a source of pride, and it's really a fun way to get to know people. Monica and I, as part of our transition, have transitioned that to her. So I miss it already. I think I get more out of it than the person being coached. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Monica's doing that now to set the organization up for almost symbolic but also substantive. I'm still the superintendent of schools, but I may be a 4-star general. Monica's a 3-star general. She's a general, and I'm her thought leader to help make sure that she's successful and we ease it forward. And we're simply trying to transition as best we can, as overtly as best we can, knowing that some people are having trouble figuring out who to talk to or what to do. We're simply trying to overcome that by overreacting or underreacting and just letting the organization smooth through it. Interesting person, one of the most critical members of our team is the executive assistant to the superintendent. I'm blessed with a woman named Audrey. Audrey and I have worked together for 12 years. She worked with me in my last superintendency. She chose to come here with me. Audrey is easing into this transition of me, Monica, too. And, Audrey and I plan every school board meeting with the school board president this coming year. Monica, Audrey, and I are going to plan every board meeting with the school board president. So we're trying to identify very overt tasks that are occupied by one or the other to symbolically and substantively change what's going on. I mean, from January to June 2026, I'm not emeritus, but I'll be somewhat emeritus. We're going in there consciously knowing that from July 1 to December 31, I'm a partner, a thought leader, a coach, a guide, and a mentor, because we want to leave in a very smooth and maybe unusual way. And we're
Yeah.
trying to help people out. It isn't easy. And I'm not in their shoes and not in their eyes, but it isn't easy. Some of them are like, but I like your style. Okay, cool. Me too. Or I like her style better. Well, it's not hers yet. You know what I mean? So we talk about it. Some of it is awkward and sensitive, but we make it as normal as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's sort of a global lesson in there that leadership's not easy. And this is just another example of that it takes diligence and grit, and you just got to keep pushing forward and keep having conversations. And because the real key is to fill that void so that people don't make up reasons. They don't fill in the vacuum of information with, nefarious intent and other bad things, right? So as you're thinking about sort of succession planning, and let's say there's a superintendent or a future superintendent out there listening to you, summarize sort of your thinking on this. Like, what advice would you give to somebody in similar shoes?
So it's easier for me to say this because I've got hindsight, which is 2020. This is my third and final superintendency. My first superintendency, I didn't know anything about succession planning. I didn't know anything about anything. I was a 3-year superintendent, and I simply went to my next job. So my succession really was not very thoughtful. And I apologize. I didn't know. My second superintendency was awesome and fun and cool, just like the first one. And I was a little bit more experienced as an organizational leader, as a systems leader, as a structures, culture, and curricular leader. But my departure really was more about me. And I apologize. I was hired in December before the June, and from December to June, I really was more focused on my new job than the current job. I worked really hard. I was working 2 jobs, but my focus was not on them. It was on me. I learned. It's humble to admit that it wasn't the smoothest way to leave the organization. Coming in here, I knew that I was going to be leaving the superintendency, whether it was an early retirement based on my age and service credit here in Illinois, or a full retirement, which again, God willing, it will be next year. So I had been thinking about the end in mind, a la Covey, since I started here. And I wanted to do it right because I hadn't. So my advice is learn from my mistakes and do it right, because it's real important that the board's work, the community's vision, the staff and the teachers and all their hard work and the administrators has a lasting impact and a collective legacy. It's not about the person holding that title or role. It's about the community. And my aim is to leave the place better than I found it, which I hope I did in my last 2 places too, but also to leave it so that conditions are ripe for success for anybody who takes over. So I learned lessons by not doing it twice to do it this one time. I appreciate the question and indulging me a little bit to give you a longer answer.
Yeah, no, and I think I appreciate the candor there and admitting some of the mistakes, because I think many leaders or don't have the humility to do so, you know. So I really appreciate your honesty and your candor, and I think the audience is going to love this. And like we said, it'd be great to talk to Monica maybe in a few months, give you guys a few more months of kind of wrestling with this and working through it, and love to hear her perspective in part 2 of succession planning conversation. So thank you again for the time, Michael. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and just wish you the best as you wrap up this school year and as you look forward to the final and the ultimate year for your great career and serving kids throughout Illinois.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the great work that you do, that you and Brad do, that everyone around you does. Recommend your book. And I will eagerly listen to episode 2 when Monica comes on as well. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you.